Well, ladies and gentlemen, the galaxies have collided. It's shocking. Kamala Harris actually doing an interview tonight, although she does have to have her safety vessel right next to her in Tim Walz. We'll have to see how that goes on CNN. That's going to be pre recorded. This is probably going to be her last big thing before the debate on September 10th. There's also this video. I mean, you just look at this video. Wallace looks like he's already on the verge of tears. So there's that. And we've got Kamala Harris speaking to high schoolers. It's like she's explaining to them what 2 plus 2 is. I mean, these people are just not winning. I'm sorry. This is absurd. But let's see. I'm more interested. I know people are like, well, look at what Kamala's saying. It's ridiculous. But Woes is, again, with the fake crying. I mean, it's just a constant thing. Let's see this.
Our country's counting on you. All of you. You are leaders. By the very fact that you all are here in this room, doing what you do at this incredible school, doing it as one big team, understanding all of the different parts that fit together to create a team.
Wow. So she's saying that a bunch of different parts come together. It's like Disney Channel speech to a third grader. It's like before you go to a big game. Now we've got Tim Walz claiming that he's going to lower taxes, and even he doesn't believe it. And then, of course, he says, we just want people to pay their fair share. It's not a big deal. I mean, if you look into what the potential, and this is what liberals say because they can't defend it, they say, well, it's never going to happen. It's never going to pass. But if the unrealized gains tax happens, the ripple down effect, Vivek Ramaswamy has explained this to where if you tax unrealized gains, basically money that people don't have, if they'd be multi-millionaires because they're saying they're going to start at over 10 million. That's going to have a huge effect because of the amount of money that these people have on trickle down in terms of people selling their stocks to pay for these unrealized gains. It's ridiculous, and it stifles any type of economic growth, especially when it comes to stocks, because they're constantly selling them to try and pay off the taxes with money they don't have. It makes no sense. It's not American. It's not capitalist to tax money that people do not have. It's ridiculous. So Trump really needs to hit on that. But Walz is saying, this is what they always do. Well, we're going to raise the rich people's taxes, but we're going to lower yours. That never happens under Democrats. They never lower taxes. The only thing you can hope is that they remain the same. But even with their policy and what they're going to be doing, because of the ripple down, the economy, it's going to be in a worse situation. I mean, we see what's happening with inflation under the Democrats. It is absolutely horrible, and they blame the pandemic on it. It's just like Kamala Harris is like, oh, before the pandemic, things were cheaper, but because of the pandemic, that's why everything's terrible. Don't blame Biden. But then she tries to separate herself from the Biden administration, and you've got Politico running articles saying the Republicans are so dumb for tying Harris to Biden. It's not like they ran on the same ticket. I mean, look at what Walz says. Walz even knows he's lying.
We'll keep fighting to protect your retirement benefits, lowering taxes for working families, and finally making corporations just pay their fair share. They're doing fine. They're doing fine.
Man. Remember Walz's theme song? I'm a small town dad. Oh, man. You know, I can't wait to see Walz tonight. That's going to be great. But even when Walz is saying we're going to lower your taxes, he gives a pause before he says it because he knows how ridiculous it is, and with the ripple down and the trickle effect on all Americans, especially middle-class people, it's going to be a worse situation. They have to pay for all these social projects, and they're saying, oh, we're going to give everyone free health care. You know, all of this needs to be paid for. And so that's why they're proposing trillions of dollars in new taxes, trillions with a T. And you've got Walz going to these events. Remember, this was the best thing. Walz gives his speech on Wednesday night talking about how he's the little guy. You know, he hates billionaires. It's all about the middle class. And then the next day, the photos come out, him meeting with the Sith god, the demon himself, Alex Soros, George Soros, his kid. And Alex Soros has got that smile like he's really evil with the glasses, and he's just meeting with all of the liberals, buying them off. Someone had a great post. It was like Alex Soros is literally going around with the trophies. Like, he takes photos with liberals, and it's just, he owns them now because the amount of money he has with the war chest, it's horrible. But this is what these people do. They say Trump's this horrible billionaire. You know, you can't relate to him. And then you've got Walz, who's like this, he's the small town dad, but then he takes a photo with Alex Soros and he gets bought off by him the next day. It's just so easy to see through all of this. We also do have new polls. I did talk about the Fox polls yesterday, but these are some serious polls post the RFK Jr. Dropout. So we're going to go through basically all of these states and look at how all of the averages are going. So starting with Arizona, basically right now it's a tie. Trump is sitting plus zero point 0.2, which I would say in terms of this, you had Harris, make a comeback. Obviously, Trump against Biden, it was a blowout, but I do still think Trump's in a really good spot in Arizona. The internal numbers are just amazing for Trump. It wouldn't surprise me at all if by election night, in terms of just the overall average, Trump was like plus 1.2, and then he probably wins Arizona by like 2.5 to 3. That would be my guess right now in terms of that state. You do have Georgia updating, another very close state, Trump plus zero point 0.3. If you take a look at the history, you had Clinton plus zero point 0.5. Trump did beat Clinton relatively easily in 2016. There was some breathing room, and then Trump was up. So this is a rare thing where the polls overestimated in Trump, at least on August 29th. You can see Trump plus 1.1. Georgia was always a state back in 2020. I thought there's no way was going to go to Biden, and with all the weaponization of the ballot harvesting in the inner cities and Fulton and DeKalb, he was able to win it by like 0.2. Certainly, I think the numbers look a lot better for Trump this year in Georgia, although hypothetically, you could argue that based off of polling, this is still a state that he could lose because of how close it is right now and the fact that technically the polls have been pretty accurate in Georgia in recent memory. You do also have Michigan. Michigan is the one Rust Belt state where there have been a lot of polls that have Harris up by 2 or 3. You can see in 2020, Biden was up by 2.6. And in 2016, the polls were very off with Clinton up by around 8. Trump ended up winning the state with Clinton in late August up by an average of 8. So the polls were more accurate in 2020 for sure. I don't remember how much Biden won Michigan by. I think it was around 2, and they had him up by 2.6. Here they've got Harris up by 2.2. This is another state that, I mean, to be fair, even when it was Trump versus Biden, it was relatively close. I do think Michigan could be a kind of a problem state for Trump. Normally, when you talk about the Rust Belt, they always vote the same way, but it wouldn't shock me if Michigan did go to Harris, with Pennsylvania and Wisconsin going to Trump, and obviously Ohio going to Trump as well. You do also have Nevada, Trump plus 0.6, another extremely, extremely close state, but this is another state that I do think Trump, it is only 6 electoral votes. It's important to understand that. Or is it 5 electoral votes? I think it is 6, but I do think this is another state that Trump will win. I mean, you want to talk about Harris going to Nevada and then blatantly copying Trump's policy on the no tax on tips. I'm still shocked that happened, but these polls are extremely close. North Carolina, Trump up by 0.9, another very close state. Although I will say, North Carolina, if you look back at 2020 and 2016, the Democrats, they overpolled there significantly. Trump performed way better. And I do think, again, based off of a number of internal things with Trump's approval rating, with the polls in general this year versus 2016 and 2020, him losing North Carolina would be a very big surprise if you include all of the numbers from 2020 and 2016, along with the fact that Trump is winning this state. And you can see he did win by 3.6, and then it was down. It was down pretty significantly. I didn't realize this. The libs cut it by about 2 to 1.3. He beat Hillary by over 3. He beat Biden by 1.3. I think a lot of that was the way it was counted. I feel like I remember North Carolina being like a 3 or 4 point lead for Trump with like 90% in, and then Biden must have gotten to a lot of the end votes. Because I remember Trump, we knew he was going to win North Carolina pretty early on election night. It's just the way North Carolina gets counted. It should be relatively obvious, hopefully by like, I don't know, midnight, that Trump's going to win that state, you would hope. Pennsylvania, I mean, these states are just absurdly close. Trump plus 0.1. This is a state that has really, really overpulled Dems. You had Biden plus 4.7. Obviously, Trump only loses that state by like 0.6 or whatever it is, so he overperforms by 4. Hillary was up by 8. Trump way overperformed that. He wins the state. So with him being up by 0.1, you would figure, based on the history in Pennsylvania, the way they poll there, Trump, even if they've limited it a little bit and maybe the polls are more accurate, you would still think it would underpoll Trump and he would overperform the polling numbers and possibly win this state by about 1.5, 2 points. Republicans have cut the voter registration in this state significantly, to the point where it was around what was it, like 800K in terms of favoritism for the left, and, with more Democrats registered. Now it's like 350. It is crazy how much they've cut it. And that's not an exact science. They cut it by 200K from 2016 and 2020, and Republicans lost, but now they've cut it by 450. I feel like that's too much. I think Republicans are going to win Pennsylvania. You do also have Wisconsin. Some recent polls there. This one, Harris +1, another extremely close state, another state that's very, very hard to pull in terms of Hillary being +11. Obviously, that was way off. Biden being +3.5. Trump overperformed that by 3 points. So you would say this is another one where Wisconsin looks decent. However, it does look like the polls were able to correct themselves at least a little bit to make it slightly better for Biden in terms of that state. And I don't think we've gotten any recent Virginia polls. Virginia is a state that I'm very interested in as well. But those are just kind of the recent updated polls. All these polls are very, very close in the swing states. That just is what it is right now. This is going to be a very interesting debate. There's no doubt about that. And I think it's going to be, you never want to say a lock, but I think it's going to be a very easy debate for Trump to win because of all the flip-flopping that Harris has done on her policies, let alone copying several of Trump's policies along with a Vance policy as well. Trump is going to have a lot of ammunition. It just depends, can Trump keep everyone focused on the huge, big picture issues? We know Harris is going to want to talk about January 6th and abortion. Those are going to be the top two things. I mean, I'll give a full debate preview when the time comes. But right now, this is a very close election. But if we look at the past previous elections, it does favor Trump based off of better internal numbers like favorability, approval rating, along with the fact that Trump does outperform a lot of these polls. And if the polls are tied, that's going to be good news for Trump because you would think he would outperform them. Do we have a recent just aggregate Trump versus Harris general election? So it's Harris +1.7. Yeah, that doesn't surprise me very much. She was around 1.6. Now she's at 1.7. So yeah, I think it's kind of stabilized there. We know Trump was up pretty significantly in this against Biden, which was just amazing. But even in a scenario like this, we know how wrong they were with Biden. I mean, they were more inaccurate with Biden because they had Biden winning by 7.5. He only won by 4. It's like a 3-point difference. With Hillary, I think it was like, I don't remember what the exact difference was in terms of that. It was all right. With Hillary, it was only like a 1.2 point difference, 1.1 in terms of the popular vote. But with Biden, it was like 3. So you would think 1.7 based off of the polling errors. We would expect this to be about a tie in terms of the, like, seriously, if it even is plus 1.7 popular vote, I think Trump basically has got like a 90% chance to win based on how the votes are split up in between the states, with Harris running up the huge numbers in California, New York, and Illinois. Even if Trump loses by 3, I think he probably wins the election. That's just the way the popular vote is nowadays. But either way, guys, that is going to do it for this video. Make sure you follow me on X. Link to that's always in the description.